and welcome to Wednesday Wandering with me, Cate Field. That's wandering about stuff and not just wandering off. Welcome. Today I want to take you on a journey into the extraordinary world of Tove Jansson, the Finnish writer and artist whose work captured my imagination when I was little, and so many others as well. So Jansson, best known for her Moomins stories, my little collection there, but her creative world stretched far beyond the whimsical valley. She was an illustrator, a satirist, a novelist, and a woman deeply shaped by war, solitude, and the Scandinavian landscape. Her themes of home, belonging, displacement, resilience, and change all are in her stories, balancing light-hearted adventure with profound existential questions. And in this episode, I'm going to be exploring how Jansson combined her words and pictures to create her unique storytelling magic, and how her wartime experience shaped her work, and her love of the sea and solitude, and her personal and artistic life. So let's step into the world of Tove Jansson, a world of little creatures, wild landscapes, and deep truths. The art of storytelling. Tove Jansson's art and writing were never separate. They danced together, inseparable and deeply intertwined. As a child, she was surrounded by creativity. Her father, Victor Jansson, was a sculptor, and her mother, Sinje Hamilton Jansson, was an illustrator who designed stamps for the Finnish postal service. And from a very early age, Tove Jansson understood that pictures could tell stories and that words could create images. And she said that one has to discover everything for oneself and get over it alone. And that's from Moomin Papa at Sea. And that's exactly what her Moomins did. They wandered through kind of chaos, through floods, through winter storms, only to find that home was always waiting, but that home could also change. Her ability to combine image and text seamlessly made her storytelling unique. And in the Moomin books, the illustrations weren't just decorations, they were part of the story, adding layers of depth. A tiny, solitary figure in a vast landscape, a quiet nod to longing and freedom. She didn't just illustrate her own work, though. She created striking illustrations for The Hobbit in 1961, the Swedish edition, and she imbued it with a kind of a distinctive Nordic atmosphere. But she also illustrated Alice's Adventures in Wonderland in 1966 and Through the Looking Glass in 1968, adding her own dreamlike and whimsical touch. But how did her storytelling evolve? And how did she, how was her experience during World War II? How did that influence her work? Because Tove Jansson was in her early 20s when World War II cast its shadow over Europe, and Finland was caught in the crossfire. And like so many artists of her generation, she was deeply affected by the war. She worked as a political cartoonist, using sharp humour to critique fascism and authoritarianism, and her satirical drawings were in the magazine Garm. And they were bold and fearless, depicting dictators as ridiculous figures and mocking their self-importance. But beneath the satire, there was exhaustion, a longing for a world without fear, a world without displacement and cruelty. And in the midst of wartime, there was so much uncertainty, and this is where the Moomins were born. The very first Moomin book, The Moomins and the Great Flood, was written in 1945, and it tells the story of a family searching for home after catastrophe. And it's easy to see the echoes of war in these themes of displacement, of survival, and the longing for safety. Moomin Valley itself became a sanctuary, a place where lost creatures found home, where differences were accepted, and kindness and adventure went hand in hand. But Jansson was also deeply aware that nothing remains the same, and her stories gently but firmly teaches us the inevitability of change. And to truly understand her work, we have to understand her love of the sea. The sea was her constant companion, wild and unpredictable and vast. And she spent much of her life on a remote Finnish island, far from cities and distractions, with her lifelong partner, the artist Tuulikki Pietilä. She designed a small home on Klovharen, a tiny windswept island where they spent their summers, and the other time they spent in Helsinki. But there she lived simply, painting, writing, drawing, surrounded by the water, the sky, the sea, the birds. Islands appear again and again in her work, the rolling waves in Moomin Papa at Sea, where the Moomin family seek refuge on the lighthouse island. The quiet melancholy of isolation in the Soul Ebook, where a grandmother and granddaughter navigate grief and love and the slow passage of time. For Jansson, solitude wasn't loneliness, it was freedom. And even in the solitude of her island, she believed in companionship. And her relationship with Pietilä was one of deep respect and creative collaboration. Inspired by the winter and that kind of feelings of being together, they built models of Moomin Valley, and they were influenced by each other's artistic work. One of the greatest strengths of Jansson's storytelling is her ability to balance that playfulness with the deep existential themes. Her characters are more than just quirky creatures. They are archetypes of human experience.